Good evening, familia. This is Ray Collazo. Welcome back to Bomba Live, the show you've been waiting for. Thank you so much for joining us. Subscribe to Bomba Live anywhere you can download a podcast, and especially on YouTube. We want to up our YouTube subscribers, so really encouraging people to follow Bomba Live, the show you've been waiting for on YouTube. I know that we began the year very strong, and I took a few weeks off. I was dealing with some health issues and, many other things as you can imagine. But we are committed now. Nuestro compromiso is to have a show for you every week, and our goal is to get it up on either Tuesday and Wednesday evenings, 8 o'clock. So definitely check out and subscribe and continue to follow Bomba Live for alerts. A lot of things, obviously, to talk about on this WTF, What Do We Do Now episode of Bomba Live. I've sort of owe you all kind of a breakdown of what's going on in our politics. So this is actually going to be a solo episode, no guest today or co-host, because I wanted to kind of briefly summarize where we're at and give you all some thoughts on what we need to do to move forward. Needless to say, this is in an American United States context. I wasn't around for the Civil War, but in our modern history, the gravest moment for our democracy, where it is very fragile, and not only the sort of political makeup of our country in terms of being a democracy or not being a democracy is on the line, but really, but just fundamentally what we are as a country. Do we want to become an apartheid state? Do we want to become the Handmaid's Tale? Do we want to just lose our democracy? Do we want to lose really the essence of, do we want to shred up the Constitution and do something different? Some of us do. And that is what, and some of us, many of us, many more, don't really want that, but I don't believe truly understand what's at stake. And then I think the majority of us, to varying degrees, understand really what's going down, but unfortunately feel powerless as to many of us really kind of feel powerless in this moment and feel very frustrated and are dealing with a lot of set of emotions. And I want to touch on how we not only deal with this from a political organizing perspective, this moment in our history, but also from a personal perspective, and try to, in the midst of everything, kind of keep, keep our heads about us and take care of ourselves, because that's really the most important thing. We'll talk also at the end of the show briefly about my thoughts about a conversation I had with a colleague last week I wanted to share with you all, and really highlighting the importance of providing space for others. And so I think it's very timely as we think about kind of where we're at in our history and kind of where we're at in 2025 as a society and as a family here on Bomba Live. So let's start where we're at, fam. I tried to synergize this, if that's the right word, so we could really think about this kind of in broad strokes, not get too bogged down in details, and try to give you all some language to take back to your communities and really think about how to simply explain kind of where we're at. So I really boil it down to these two elements, familia. To the question of WTF is happening. They are in the process of taking and want to take your money. Talk about that in a second. And fundamentally, from more of a big picture, societal perspective, they are trying to take, in the process of taking your country as you know it today. And that's what I just spoke about. We have essentially some decisions, or the decisions will be made for us, about how fundamentally our country will change. Again, y'all might be cool with that, or some of y'all might be cool with that. But you got to really understand and own what the ramifications of those decisions. Let's talk a little bit about the money. Well, let's start with this, fam. My argument about how the main focus of this whole movement, Elon Musk, Donald Trump, he's also input in his administration dozens of billionaires and extremely wealthy people. What they like to do is figure out how to get more money, not build roads and make it easier for you to get your Social Security payment, which is what the federal government's supposed to be doing. They know how to take people's money. Literally, we're getting fired. I don't know what economic, and you've seen it, tens of thousands. It'll lead very quickly to hundreds of thousands of federal employees have been fired, furloughed, fired, do no fault of their own. Nothing they did in terms of the work that the quality of the work they were doing. They've been, many would argue, illegally getting fired. And that'll come out in class action lawsuits for the rest of the decade. I don't know what economic argument you can make where increasing the number of educated, highly skilled professionals, mass layoffs, increasing the pool of people lay off in our country, people that have mortgages, people that are paying for colleges, people that are putting a lot of money back in our economy. I don't know how that helps any of us. How does that help you if your neighbor gets laid off and they have to sell their house and it goes in foreclosure? How does that help you? It doesn't help you. They're also in the process of they're firing us, working people here, people that are servicing our country, many of which are veterans, and many of which are from diverse communities, many of which have very highly specialized skills that are not easy to find. So it's not going to be easy to rehire people like that. They're in the process of paying themselves more. So, the entire USAID budget, which they're attacking and whittling down, equals, if you took the entire thing and it was completely eliminated. By the way, I would argue most of those resources are actually excellent investments to help people around the world. So it's called soft power. If you elevate people, they're less likely to get radicalized against you and be your friend in economy and your other political pursuits. But I digress. If you took all of USAID off the map, $21 billion, the entire budget, which represents 0.3% of our entire budget, that equates roughly to what Elon Musk has made off us over the last 8 years with his various companies and various contracts. So if Elon Musk really cared about saving you money, fam, he would start with giving up his money to us. But it's funny how that hasn't happened. In fact, there's a report that he's trying to secure contracts from the FEA and some of these agencies that he's got his hands on so he can make more money off you. So this isn't really about saving money, familia. And the last thing I would put on the table, and look this up yourselves, people. Don't believe me. Look this up yourselves. Look at the last piece I have on the Chiron here. The House Republicans have passed a resolution, which is the beginning of the process of putting together our next the federal budget for the next fiscal year. And in their resolution, it called for, and this is what they're arguing, they're trying to save us money. The first thing in the resolution is $4.2 trillion tax cut. 80% of that tax cut will go to the ultra rich and the largest corporations of our country. Familia, if you're trying to save money, how do you begin how is the centerpiece of your budget a $4.2 trillion tax cut, most of which goes to the rich and the ultra wealthy? Yeah, maybe some of y'all will get $60 back in your taxes, $72, $102, $43, maybe in that tax plan. Many of you are actually going to pay more taxes in this tax plan. I encourage you to do your research because many of you will, the majority of you will. This ain't about saving money, familia. This is about them taking your money. And this is what you need to educate your neighbors and friends, people that aren't paying attention, about what's going on here. My argument, which again, they're trying to take your country. First part of that goes back to the economic argument. There's very little you can argue with a straight face, and they don't even really try. They avoid us in town halls. They do double speak on TV. And in fact, even President Trump last night in the State of the Union admitted there will be a little disturbance in your economy. So he's already telling you straight up, you're going to be suffering. He ain't going to be suffering. Elon Musk ain't going to be suffering. They're too busy trying to figure out how to take your money for themselves. The way they're going to argue, and again, just look at the plan, fam. This ain't me making anything up. if you look at the plan, if you look at the bill, the resolution bill that the House Republicans put out that got passed, so it's the framework of what they're finally supposed to put together in terms of the next year's budget. How they pay or try to pay or partially pay for the $4.2 trillion tax cut they're going to get is they're going to take $900 billion out of Medicaid, Social Security, SNAP, SSI, and other social programs. Everyone watching this today knows dozens of people in their network. I'm talking dozens, not one or two, dozens of people in their personal network that are on Medicaid or SSI, other Affordable Care Act, other government health programs, Social Security, SNAP. What happens when $900 billion gets taken out of that budget? People get taken off the rolls. People get less health care. People get less meals in their SNAP benefits. And if they plan to do on top of that, they're trying to cut half the workforce at Social Security, half the workforce at the IRS. So what happens when you stop out of incompetence, mismanagement? You stop getting your Social Security checks. What happens in our country, familia? Just 1 month. If there's 1 month in the coming months where due to mismanagement or the way they put up the budget or whatever reason, our people don't have Medicaid, Social Security, SSI, and SNAP, what would happen in 1 month? Even if it was just like a glitch and it came back in a month, it would be utter chaos in our society. So they're trying to make you sicker, trying to make you poorer. They're taking your country fundamentally as you know it. They're laying this out to be a much more dangerous country. Now, this comes into play with the immigration conversation. The argument is they're trying to make our country safer. Now, look, we all know this. Let's keep it real, fam. Whether they're undocumented or documented or Puerto Rican, that's your neighbor, that's a citizen, if you have a trust in what the process that the government's doing and the local police are doing to make your community safer, and you have a relationship and a trust factor with your government and your local officials, you'll work, and our neighbors will work together to work with the police and law enforcement to identify the criminals, the true criminals in our community, regardless of their citizenship status. But when you create this wide net and say, yeah, we're trying to supposedly get the dangerous criminals, when in fact, you're just grabbing whatever undocumented person you can find and whatever Latino you can find to harass. That's not only a waste of resources and not truly focusing the resources on criminals, but that's also generating fear in our community, unnecessary stress in our community, and it makes us less likely to cooperate with anybody in law enforcement about anything. So it makes our law enforcement officials' job harder. And if this was really about making us safer, Faye, piénsalo bien, why would you release hundreds of January 6th felons who attacked cops with sticks, with weapons, with tasers? All of y'all saw it. And I think that has been one of the things that we have been failed as Democratic-leaning people, as progressive people, as the majority of us that are horrified by what's going on right now, that we haven't focused on that enough. He let hundreds of dangerous people out in the street, people that had no problems beating the shit out of cops. And by the way, now they think they can do whatever the hell they want as long as they're cool with Trump. So those hundreds of people are not only dangerous to specifically, elected officials and people that are identified to be against the Trump administration, but they're dangerous to all of us. And by the way, he let the Tate brothers back in the United States. Why would those scumbags? Look them up. Look what they've been led to do. It's to the point Ron DeSantis, the Attorney General in Florida, is trying to figure out a way to put him in jail. That's how dangerous those guys are. So if this was about making your life safer, what's really going on here, fam? It's actually the opposite. They don't care. And for the immigrant population, it's going to happen. I was talking to one of my activists in Texas today. Their plan here is to not just deport people. They talk about Guantanamo, put them in prison in El Salvador. Their plan is to build more private prisons, more detention centers, so they can make money off our folks being incarcerated. It's about them making money and our lives being sicker, poor, and more dangerous. Taking our rights. I mean, if y'all don't see, I don't know who saw the State of the Union yesterday, or the joint session speech, whatever the official title of the speech was. If you don't see this as a blatantly racist administration agenda, I don't know what to tell you. I just want to tell you, the first action was to eliminate DEI initiatives in government. That's basically for my upper class people, minorities. That's so y'all don't have equal access to government contracts. That's actually cutting into y'all money, not working stiffs. The upper class contractors and people that have more mature mid-sized businesses that can go in for federal contracts. So that's going to make it harder for y'all to make your money. They're eliminating initiatives and a place for people of color and people of diverse backgrounds to be in the government. They're withholding funds from education to various areas of our society from initiatives that are to support initiatives from diverse communities. This is obviously a very transphobic, homophobic administration. It's a very racist administration. Obviously, the anti-immigrant sentiment is a veiled attack on Latinos across the board, whether some of y'all Latinos believe it or not. There was an obvious racial slur that the president said to a member of the Senate yesterday, and half the ballroom, the auditorium, laughed, thought it was funny. None of this is funny, familia. And let me tell you something. If you dismantled the Department of Education, who's that hurt, fam? Can you please think about this? That hurts the Spanish-speaking child that needs support. That hurts all of our children on the spectrum, familia. I think that's the group that gets hurt the most, frankly. That hurts any child that gets discriminated against for whatever reason. They don't have that federal civil rights monitoring to support them. And by the way, 30% of our children are Hispanic in this country. So the group that gets hurt the most proportionally is the Latino community if you dismantle the Department of Education. I would argue disproportionately it hurt all the stuff going on with the Army impacts Latinas the most. Imagine being a Latina, a black or Latina woman in the military right now. Do you really think you're going to be protected if you're sexually assaulted or sexually harassed in this administration? The defense secretary said, my whole thing is anti-woke and I hate diversity. What's that mean, fam? What's that mean for your loved ones in the military right now that we love and support? We support them 1,000%. We don't want them discriminated against. We don't want anyone discriminated against. Nobody. There's so much. If you dismantle our federal government and you deny us services and you deny us equal access to participate in the federal government, and you deny and you weaponize the federal government, and you put henchmen into these roles in the FBI and CIA, and they're not worried about white collar criminals. They're not worried about anyone that's supportive of the president. They're just targeting like the rest of us. That's not going to make y'all safer. That's taking your rights away. And we can even have a whole conversation about our First Amendment rights are quickly being attacked. So if you support this administration, understand you're not supporting what the United States is. You're supporting something different. And you got to own that. And don't hide behind a cross. Don't behind silly rhetoric. Don't behind about all liberals are all devils because they're for gay people. Don't behind none of that. Just own that you want to live in a Russia kind of life, a world, a dictatorship that's about a strong man and making us poor while the rich get richer and put down women and people of color. and gay people, and that's it. And actually, disabled people get screwed the most out of all this. If you look at how their rights would be infringed upon with this whole situation. So just own it if that's your thing. But I just want y'all to be clear, my family out there. These are the top lines of what's going on at stake. And there's lots we got to do. I'm going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about what do we do now after all this cheery news here on Bomba Live. The show you've been waiting for. Let's watch some best of Bomba Live clips from some wonderful collaborators that have been on the show. Some great faces you're going to see here. I'll come back and talk a little bit about what we do now to take our country back. So we have the Ricky Martin picture. So we got to show it. Come on, fam. We got to show it. All right, Dios mío, look at that. Come on. Ricky and Betty, tell us this story, my friend.
Ricky Martin, Ruben. Actually, Sweet Sensation was on tour with Menudo for a minute. Okay. Cover Girls were on tour. It was Cover Girls, Sweet Sensation, Menudo at the time. This is right before Ricky left the group. That's Ruben right next to him, I believe. Yeah. So, we had so much fun being on tour with Menudo. Now, meanwhile, talk about surreal. I was 14 years old with my best friend from across the street, Sonia, scoping out all the hotels that Menudo was in because I was a big Menudo fan. I love Menudo. I still love Menudo. I can sit here and be like, Súbete a mi moto. I know all the songs. I have belt buckles and I have the jackets, and I loved Miguel from Menudo was my favorite until I fell in love with Johnny. So I know all about the Menudo stuff.
Welcome back to Bomba Live family. The show you were waiting for. It's hilarious. I'm actually wearing the same shirt from that clip from a few years back. That was, of course, the legendary freestyle diva, Betty D of Sweet Sensation. She's a big part of the Bomba Live family. Much respect to Betty. And, of course, my primary coach, Christina Vega, was also featured in that clip. I mean, fam, we don't get better than that. Freestyle divas talking about Menudo and touring with Ricky Martin. And I mean, that's why you watch Bomba Live, the show you've been waiting for. Thank you again for joining us. So let's talk a little bit about what do we do now. And I think the first thing, and this has been, frankly, the reason I haven't been producing Bomba Live as much, is because I really wanted to focus on this, fam, is that, especially since Election Day over the last 4 months, is that before all the political stuff, we got to take care of ourselves. And, if we allow ourselves to this current political climate to eat us alive, it will. And so we've really got to focus on taking care of ourselves first. That means personal self-care. That means not doom scrolling and being obsessed with watching MSNBC 6 hours a day. Take the information you need, a discrete period of time to get the information you need about what's going on day to day. So you can educate yourself, so you can understand what's going on, so you can educate your community, so you can organize. We're going to talk about that in a second. But you got to take care of yourself first, fam. So self-care. And look, the reality is almost everyone in human history has dealt with these kind of political things. We actually had post-civil rights movement to now, we actually had a break from it. And now we're dealing with it like pretty much everyone else in the world deals with it most of the time. So, check out the political system in North Korea. This is not uncommon, but what we have to do in the midst of seeing what we thought we had slip away is that we still have to take care of ourselves. We still have wonderful families. We still have our health. We still have life to enjoy. And we have to look out for each other. And I think that's even more important in this time because, some of us, people like me, are really going through it with this political stuff. But at the same time, there's things that are more important on some level. Un saludo. Speaking of Betty D, of course, we're very dear compadres y comadres. The K7, his wonderful wife Hilda, and their family. We have our thoughts and prayers out for them. And the Cruz family and the Spiller family from Philadelphia, dear families of friends of ours who have had losses recently. So there's a lot going on here that's we got to deal with day to day that in the grand scheme of things is more important. So let's take care of ourselves and let's prioritize that. And part of taking care of ourselves is preparing ourselves. So make sure you have your Social Security information. Make sure you have all your documents, your passports, your IDs. Make sure you have all your stuff because who knows what's going to happen in the future. The second thing, and I think this is the hardest thing for me, and I think it's this piece here has been really hard for us is fam, we cannot overwhelm ourselves and drive ourselves crazy arguing with these people that support Trump. We have to stop. We have to leave them alone. We just got to leave them alone. Because we're going to drive ourselves crazy. We're going to waste a lot of negative energy arguing with these people that have whatever reasons. They have their own reasons for their own trip in life. On some level, we got to respect that. But on another, more important level, like it's just a waste of our time. Some of them we're never going to get back, which is fine. There's no 90% majority of the political thought ever in any society. So some of them we're never going to get back. Don't worry about it. The ones that will eventually come back and realize, oh shit, this is what's going on. They're wafflers anyway. This is very much a follower crowd, fam. So when they see our side more together, with a stronger vision, with fighting back against what's going on, when they see that they're directly getting impacted, when they see that we're building momentum for our side of this, our movement, enough of them will come back. It is what it is. These are the people that show up, when you have a business forever, they never come around. And then when you open the bigger store, they're the first, and it's the big party that open up the store. They're the first ones in front. That's who that crowd is. It is what it is. So they're followers. So they'll follow at the end. It's fine. Leave them alone. Just let them do their thing. It is what it is. Don't argue with these people. Don't focus on arguing all the time because we're stressing and we've been mad. I understand. I've seen y'all. Once that boy got inaugurated and it's going down like this, we are so upset about the results of this last election on a variety of levels, especially the women out here that are like, we told you so. Especially the black women. We told you so. The 93%, right again. But let's not focus on that. Let's focus on organizing. Not focus on arguing, focus on organizing. Everyone's going to do their own thing. That's fine. At the end of the day, nobody's going to come up with some grand strategy. We all have to participate in doing this. Some, like me, are going to be more involved day to day because that's what I do. Some are going to have their own piece. Maybe your piece is supporting the recently laid off federal worker in your life to find another job and support them in their pursuit to get their job back. Maybe it's more of a personal thing like that. Some are going to want to go to these town hall meetings and make some noise. Some are going to be pushing out accurate information and combating misinformation on social media people. Some are going to have their issue related to this. They're going to want to get involved in the Protect the Medicaid, Protect Our Healthcare movement, or the immigration rights movement, sharing with the immigrant community, knowing your rights. Whatever your thing is, just do it. And just focus on your piece and your contribution. Don't worry about, welcome the Democrats to have their shit together. Just do your part because this will build momentum. And as we all are contributing to this movement, it'll be clear and clear what's working, what's resonating, and then we can kind of contribute to the elements of this campaign later on, this movement, to combat what's going on. So again, stop arguing, organize. Then the last thing is, at the end of the day, the only way we can win this, and how we will win this, is with collective action. Collective action. Collective action is the only thing that wins. Gandhi, Martin Luther King, French Revolution, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of movement. Ricky Renuncia in Puerto Rico. What's happened, the impeachments in South Korea. When we lock this down is when we're going to win. And I don't know if there's going to be one moment. There's going to be a big economic piece to this. If Tesla can't sell a car, or Target really loses a lot of business, or people see that Costco's gangbusters, or we are stopping them at every turn. They can't. The members of Congress can't leave their house. Whatever it is, where we're locking it down in a peaceful manner, in a strategic, peaceful manner, in a bold manner, in a courageous manner. People follow boldness. People follow leadership. People follow others that are speaking to what they're feeling inside and are inspired by the courage that we need to show right now. And that will build the momentum that we need. There's already, even if we don't convince a single Trump person, we got about why we believe they're wrong. There's more than enough of us to do this because of our economic power, our people power, our assets, and we are the majority. Y'all have seen that meme, You know, roughly a third of the people voted for Trump, a third of the people, a percent less voted for Kamala, and a third of y'all didn't vote. So the vast majority of people ain't really with this. So there's more than enough of us to do this, to combat this attack on our democracy, attack on our money, with collective action. I'm going to take a quick break, come back, and I want to talk to you all about a very interesting experience I had last week, and really speaks to the importance of creating space for other people. Let's watch another Best of Bomba Live clip or two, and I'll be right here on Bomba Live, the show you've been waiting for. I'd tell you a sick story. So in August, talking about how Bad Bunny's got his ear to the street, right? So in August, I take my family to the island, and we're at a restaurant in San Juan, in Condado, I think, eating. And so what I like to do when I go to Puerto Rico, or I meet younger Puerto Ricans from the island, I like to ask them who are the new artists on the island, so I can try to keep up, you know. So the mesero comes over, young guy, real, you know, the la calle kind of guy. And I said, oh, ¿quién está en la calle de lo nuevo? You know, ¿quién está pegando a la calle? And I swear to God, man, he goes, de verdad, Davey Omar Courts. And he does a song called Verdad. How much more organic can it get?
Correcto. That song in itself had everyone on my timeline, in my circle, on the phone with me through text, like, yo, have you heard this song? Have you listened to it? And it brought back just a sense of exactly what I believe he was trying to do. Brought back the sense of Puerto Rico. Like, we're in Philly and we're Puerto Ricans and we appreciate it and we aspire to be the best Puerto Ricans and we're proud of our cultura, and like the Puerto Rican parade, we're going to show ourselves. But it was like, this is our signal to the world that we matter so much more. Like, Puerto Ricans matter so much more, and our history is important. And those people who have gone before us, like my grandmother, God bless her, and all those other old school Puerto Ricans have left us with so many great memories of the island, of being Puerto Rican. That's where a lot of our like identity has come from.
Welcome back to Bomba Live, the show you've been waiting for. You just saw some of our dear collaborators there, Christina Vade, talking about kind of the cultural impact, particularly from a Puerto Rican perspective, on Debe Tirar Más Fotos, the Bad Bunny's latest opus, which has impacted us on so many levels. We've had multiple episodes. We'll continue to talk about the power of Benito. And Manangeli Mirabel joined me in a conversation, and I encourage you all to watch the full episode with her, my interview with Manangeli live from the island, where we talked about, you know, his impact, and I shared a story about hanging out with the homies in Puerto Rico, and how it relates to the, you know, the organic nature of this movement that Benito and El Género has developed in Puerto Rico. So I just wanted to, the last thing I wanted to share on this episode of Bomba Live, the show you've been waiting for. I really appreciate you all joining. Encourage people to continue to subscribe to Bomba Live on YouTube. You're going to be having weekly episodes from the foreseeable future. Again, I needed a few weeks to take care of some personal things, but just really dedicated. And mi compromiso was to have this space and make space for other voices to share our perspective on what's happening in our world, from culture and politics and many other issues. People love the sports. We just had our Super Bowl preview a few weeks ago for my Super Bowl champion, Philadelphia Eagles, and we had our Kansas City friends on there and some great conversations with sports experts. And we'll be doing a sports episode in the coming weeks related to the start of the baseball season. Got a lot of baseball heads out there, and it's one of my great passions. So look forward to that episode coming up. But I want to talk about making space. So last week, I was in Washington, D.C., and I had the opportunity to go to a pretty high-end event with senators and CEOs and some of the movers and shakers down in Washington. And I had a couple coworkers of mine. And you know me. If you've ever party with me, I'm a good hang. Hey, come on, I'll let you crash. I'll make sure you get in. So they came in and they crashed the party with me. And so the long and short of it is that a lot of networking. And I shared with a new coworker of mine I didn't know very well. I said, it's really important that you're here because you need to understand you belong here. And, this colleague of mine shared with me recently how much that meant to them, and that they felt, particularly as a younger Latina professional, sort of newer in her journey, not as far off in her career as most of the people that were there, is that meant something to her, and that she felt like I had made some space for her. And so I just wanted to share that because, particularly in this political environment, it's more and more important that we create space, and we create space for our voice, which is going to be, frankly, harder and harder in this current environment. And we make space for others. And so I'll share another story with you. In 2020, when we did the first Bomba Live, which was a extravaganza, it's still on YouTube, which was sort of our virtual Puerto Rican celebration to address the fact that we didn't have physical celebrations in person because of COVID, particularly, in Puerto Ricans not being able to party together. We suffer it. So we did a virtual one. It was a lot of fun. And that was the year, y'all remember, of course, George Floyd. And the long and short of it is that the theme of the special was addressing racism within the Puerto Rican Latino community. And one of the things several people mentioned to me afterwards, that the fact that they could tell they weren't used to seeing so many Afro Puerto Rican faces and voices of diverse backgrounds in that kind of setting. Maybe Osuna over here, or Frank Paquito Lindor over there, but generally not seeing Black Puerto Ricans like in the center of Puerto Rican space like that. And that was another example to me of the importance of us being intentional about making space and being and thinking about it intersectional within ourselves. Because I was being intentional about making sure that we had Afro Puerto Rican voices in that context. And I try to do that here on Boba Live. So, and other things that I do. So we've got to make space for ourselves, fam. So whether it's a young professional in your life and that's looking for opportunities, looking for mentorship, a little cousin, a neighbor, a coworker, a friend that maybe is looking for a job not out because of what's going on with this, we need to make space. We need to make space, and we have to honor their voice. And the last thing I'll share with you on this is that, it's related to this conversation about building a table, bringing your people to the table, keeping the door open behind you, all these analogies that we have about these kind of conversations, is that, and I deal with this myself, is that, familia, don't let a job title or whatever your career status is, let that in your mind define who you are. Because right now, fam, keep it real, I know people that are incredible professionals, incredible people, incredibly talented, people that I admire myself, that are currently not working because of what's going on with all this environment. I know people that are underutilized. Many of us are underutilized at their current positions. I know people that are not doing really, truly what they want to do because of the financial, their current situation. And so the fact that many of us feel like we've fallen short, or our career piece is not where it wants to be, familia, don't let that define you. Because whether if I have a bigger title or not, it doesn't take away that Enrique Collazo. Yo soy el hijo de Ray Senior and Sonia, and I am who I am anyway. Don't matter, And so I think, because we're going to feel increasingly that crunch, particularly in the professional class, in the coming months and years. Don't let you feeling like you haven't been given access to the right space define you. It's just a matter of finding the space that truly values you. So create space for others, mentor, be there for each other, be there for yourself, take care of yourself. And thank you again so much for watching this episode, this WTF, What Do We Do Now episode, Bomba Live, the show you've been waiting for. Again, next week, we'll be out here weekly episodes. I've actually already recorded a really cool episode. So they'll definitely be with next week. We've got some other wonderful people that are in the queue that are fighting a good fight. Thank you so much for joining us on Bomba Live, and make space for yourselves. Take care of yourselves.